This concept was so scary for us in the beginning because there was no roads to build anything like this before. Like having a character that was transparent and constantly moving. We started off with 80,000 computer cores, but we built all the way up to 151,000 cores just to render these characters and finish the film.
Please take all that off.
But I got you a hat. Okay.
Pixar 元素大都會近排喺香港上映，佢哋嘅 CG 同埋 3D 動畫又靚又仔細，相信就唔使講啦。有睇過嘅人咧都會認同。咁不過唔講唔知，佢哋其實每一套戲咧都有加到新技術入去，將啲細節推到極致。有唔少技術咧後來仲俾 Pixar 以外嘅電影去採用啊。上次我哋就訪問過《明日戰記》講香港嘅 CG， 今次咧就到訪問元素大都會嘅 Peter Sohn 導演，關於荷里活嘅 CG 科技啊，咁唔知佢今次又用咗啲咩新嘢喺套戲入面呢？
This concept was so scary for us in the beginning because there was no roads to build anything like this before. Like you were saying, we have tried skin, we have done metal cars, we've done plastic toys, but having a character that was transparent and constantly moving was really scary for us. When we had first turned Ember's effect on, she looked like a demon. She looked like a horror movie, like it looked like these human eyes thinking that we're being burned alive. And so we really had to find a balance of what that caricature was. And so that was one of the first techniques or the first technology that we had to find, which took the fire and caricatured it in a three-dimensional space. The idea of these other elements of water and air all needed simulations that were running constantly. Every shot in this film was an effect. When we first got in this, one of my tech supervisors said, Peter, you're only going to get 5 close-ups in the film where we can do the fire because we can't afford the rendering. We started off with 80,000 computer cores, but we built all the way up to 151,000 cores just to render these characters and finish the film. So there was many lifting on all sides of this thing.
就咁比較1995年佢哋第一部動畫長片《Toy Story》同幾年前嘅《Toy Story 4》，唔單止係胡迪同埋巴斯嘅立體感 ，texture 做得更加真，陰影同埋反光位等等都做得更加精準啊！就例如佢哋為咗做好海底奇兵水母嗰種透光但又 blur 地嘅質感，特登寫咗 transparency 呢一個新嘅 shading system。靈魂奇遇記入面，動畫師為咗 Joe 嘅每一隻手加咗292個 control point， 令到佢彈琴嗰陣關節喐動就會更加輕盈同埋逼真。Peter 導演咧本身都係 Pixar 動畫師，之前都有參與過超人特工隊、5星級大鼠等等嘅製作。而佢上一套執導嘅作品《The Good Dinosaur》，佢就要求戲入面嘅雲層咧可以隨意轉角度，唔再只係好似貼上去咁，仲為咗套戲建立咗個 Cloud Lego Parts 嘅雲層 database 添。當問到今次兩位主角火元素同埋水元素喺製作上會唔會同之前超人特工隊2識得着火同埋變啫喱狀嘅 Jack 相似？導演就話今次元素大都會嘅角色咧都係冇骨架，始終同人形嘅 Jack 有啲唔同啊。
A really interesting case study of what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to have like Jack when he goes on fire, his body is on fire, like it's a thing, versus his body being made of fire. And so that was a big distinction that we were trying to go for, is that there's no skeleton like you said. There's no bones, there's no anything. It's all gas. And so that was the big difference that we were trying to aim for.
You try to cry?
We try not to cry.
When we made them realistic, that there was a lot of reference for that. But like even Wade, he looks blue, but like when we had him real water, he was so clear. Like you couldn't even see a face because it was so transparent. So we had to inject a little bit of blue, but there weren't a lot of other characters. We had soul characters.
Must have been sudden for you.
The soul characters had technology that made the edges very, very translucent, and we were trying to use some of those shaders for Wade.
Sorry. I'm Wade.
Wade was one of our hardest characters. What would be really interesting for audiences to see is that the reason why he was so difficult was that in every sequence that we had him in, the lighting changed. And Ember is light, so there's no shadows that can go on her. She projects light, where Wade takes it all in. And so in every shot that you see him, his lighting has changed. So there's no real similar Wade in a lot of these shots. And so that would be an interesting to go through, is to see, oh, that's sunset Wade. Oh, that's Wade that's in a basement. Oh, that's Wade on a rooftop. That's Wade next to fire. They all were different looks that took a great deal of time.
Why do they even have these?
Who knows?
喺戲院大熒幕睇，更加可以感受到 Pixar 動畫師嘅功力啊！當中當然亦都有 Pixar 電影一貫嘅 wow factor， 有幾幕咧真係會靚到哇出聲啊！
Watch this!
喺咁多種元素入面，我自己最中意咧就係風元素啊，因為我覺得4種元素入面，風係比較難去形象化，而佢喺套戲入面成嚿棉花糖咁樣飄嚟飄去，都真係幾可愛㗎。邊位咧仲會有一啲類似氣化咗嘅感覺。不過睇翻之前導演嘅作品，佢似乎對於景物同埋人物嘅處理咧都係比較逼真向一啲。當問到佢點樣平衡真實向同埋卡通風，咁佢就咁樣講。
Trying to find gender with all the characters was really interesting, like because they weren't human. Like once you added a sharper chin to Wade, he looked so much older. When you got rid of his belly, he looked like a 12-year-old. Like it was so drastic, the age change for that. That was really interesting in the character design. But more than anything, it was just about trying to unify all of it. Trying to find an aesthetic that could tell you they all come from this world, but they're all different. That was a real challenge to find.
Meet the residents of Element City.
I was really nervous about how could we unify it. And so we started with Ember, me trying to find the balance of caricature with her. And once we found that, then we started building the other characters. And once we got that, then we started building the city around it. So they all sort of fit the same caricature. But there's some dangerous moments in the film and the water gets more realistic. And when there's more humor, the water gets a little bit more caricature. So that would be really something interesting for the audience to see, is that even through the technology, we were always trying to support the emotions of the story.
今次呢一套新戲嘅故事大約就係講火元素女主角 Amber 同埋其餘3種元素一齊生活喺元素城入面，面對思想有啲傳統嘅父母對自己嘅期望，喺一個唔太非法自己嘅城市入面，由一開頭認命唔相信自己做得到，去到後來勇敢追夢，當中主要講述嘅咧就係一個追尋自我同埋跳出 comfort zone 嘅故事啊。
I've been trying to fill my father's shoes, but I never once asked what I wanted to do.Why
Elements was connecting to the city was just that I grew up in a city in New York, in America, where it was just a lot of diverse communities together. And that was a very simple analogy for me of the elements, all these different elements sort of living together and showcasing how some of that diversity can be really rich and how it connects. And so it was trying to merge those two concepts. My main goal was to really build a hopeful city.A world that was very hopeful. The reason being is that these parents that come to this city have a lot of dreams. And hopefully it's a city where these dreams can come alive and really settle in there. And so that was one of the big inspirations.
喺唔同人生階段、唔同心境去睇 Pixar 嘅電影，就算係同一套戲都可以有唔同嘅體會。就好似元素大都會咁，表面講緊係小愛一啲對於自身價值嘅追求，但諗深一層，戲入面咧都有寫到去到第2個城市生活嘅唔容易，特別係一個由人哋去建設嘅地方。偷偷地話埋你知啦，其實戲入面嘅元素城係由水元素最先入主，咁所以入面嘅基建同埋鐵路等等咧都係由水去主導啊。近呢2-3年，好多香港人離鄉別井，帶住夢想同埋追求去到地球嘅另一邊，由 majority 變成 minority， 希望佢哋咧都可以好似 Amber 嘅父母咁，喺另一個地方落地生根，繼續發光啦。